Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Price List Update Summary video series brought to you by Actionable Insights. You've got Harrison here, you've got Whatley there, and you've got Stone there. And we're here to talk about the new line items that were added to the Xactimate price list in October 2024. What is up, gentlemen? Might I say it is baseball playoff seasons?
Yeah.
I am a lifelong San Diegan. Go Padres. Thank you. For anybody out there that's into baseball, I hope your team made it. I hope they are advancing, and I hope your team is not the Dodgers because they will not. So let's have some fun. There are 14 new line items that were added to the Xactimate price list this month. So let's take a look at the new line items. New line items. Starting at the top here, we have 6 new line items in the TCR, Trauma and Crime Remediation category, and you may recognize some of these line item descriptions. Things like removing cement board, removing mortar bed for tile, tearing out drywall, tearing out tile floor, tearing out vinyl floor, tearing out and bagging non-salvageable insulation. These line items have existed in categories like the WTR category, but now find themselves in the TCR category with the TRT labor trade code for a trauma and crime remediation technician. What are your thoughts, Jen? Oh, well, might I just talk about the next 6 line items here? Another 6 TCR line items. These 4 asbestos test fees, combined test fees. Again, we have seen these line items in other categories before, but have now been added to the TCR. What do we think about the addition of these line items and being duplicated into the TCR category?
It represents a transition in thinking for the pricing department. Historically, they were resistant to add new line items if they were already included in another category because it just adds more burden for them. And as a user, as we get more and more line items, that does add some more complexity. But 2 things have happened. One, managed repair continues to take up more and more space every single year. Right now, I estimate $14 billion a year is flowing through the managed repair channel. And I think as restorers, you can get the impression that that's like, the majority of the work. It's not true, actually. If you talk to a major national carrier, really only 20% of their work right now, maybe sometimes 30%, they can get through the managed repair channel. So there's still a lot of work up for grabs outside of managed repair. But that said, managed repair guidelines are such that if you include what Stone and I call cross-category inclusions between WTR and HMR and TCR, it can create you issues as it relates to staying in compliance with those guidelines. And now there's been this transition towards rule-based systems that flag these cross-category inclusions. And so that's encumbering claim settlement. So what the pricing department is doing, a bit under duress, I suspect, is adding a myriad of line items within HMR and TCR categories to mitigate those bad outcomes.
I was a program estimator for the first 3 years of my career, and I would have loved to have all of the WTR line items in all of the other HMR and TCR categories, where if I'm writing an HMR claim, I want to use all HMR line items, but I did not always have that line item in the HMR category. Over the last 12 months in general, that seems to have been rectified. There are a lot of line items that did not previously exist in HMR and TCR that now do, and that should be excellent news to anyone out there that is writing program sheets and needed those line items in the correct category for them to be able to get approved as is without pushback or additional rounds of revision. So we love it.
There is one other benefit, is that if you have all your line items within one category, then your automatically triggered line items, your MN-A line items, won't fire, which is good.
Automatically triggered labor minimums.
Just wanted to add that detail on the fly. All right, tell me about fencing. Nice. What do we got going on in the fencing world, Harrison?
The 13th new line item this month is VNLR, which is a vinyl PVC fence, panel or split rail, rail only. So the only message we have to deliver on this one is if you needed the vinyl fencing for the panel or split rail, rail only, that line item now exists. The 14th line item out of this month is in the POL swimming pools category. DKCC for pool decking, a cooling/heat reflecting coating. Now, Stone, what is this cooling/heat reflecting coating used for pool decking about?
So basically, so you don't burn your feet. We previously had an epoxy line item for pool decking. That was more of a commercial context. This is more of the norm in commercial and green construction nowadays, where you have reflective surfaces that don't create heat islands. And in the case of being barefoot by the pool, you don't burn your feet.
Well said. Now, that is the 14 new line items that were added to the Xactimate price list this month. Let's go check out the changes. Checking out the changes. I'm going to do that sexy little snap thing I do, and I will have on the left side, we will have September. This is the September price list, the September line items. And on the right side, we have the October price list with the October line items. Now, not only are new line items added to the price list every month, but the existing line items, the 24,000 line items that are already in the Xactimate price list, change every month as well. Not every line item, but a few of them will change every month. So we want to highlight what changed. How should you be using line items you've used your entire career differently moving forward? Starting here at the top, in the MPR category for the waterproofing sheet membrane line item, MPR DMEM, there has been a slight update in the components here, both in components and yields overall. First and foremost, you'll note a slight increase in direct yield. And if this is your first Price List Update Summary video, what's up? Welcome in. We talk about yields in all of our training classes. A quick, brief example. Yield is productivity. This number here in direct yield represents in a perfect environment with no homeowners or construction in the way, how much of this activity can this technician do in an hour? And so in September, they said a concrete masonry could do approximately 40 square feet per hour of this sheet membrane. Now that has improved to 70 square feet per hour. And there is an inverse relationship between the yield of a line item and the price of a line item. When something becomes easier to do and productivity goes up, the price of that goes down. When yield, the productivity gets harder and goes down, the price goes up. So naturally, if yield increased, the overall unit price of that particular component decreases as you are able to do more in that time period, and it costs less overall to perform that full activity of 1 square feet. Now, Whatley, I know I broke down a lot of the particulars there, but I wanted to invite you in here because we wanted to highlight some of these changes and why things like this matter. What is Xactimate doing where these changes happen?
I don't know it for a fact, but I can speculate that really the catalyst for the change is materials are evolving such that they are slightly more expensive, what you see here, but as a consequence, they're easier to install. So labor requirements are going down, yield is going up as it relates to labor, and then the materials cost, the price structure is going up a bit to contemplate these new adhesives that are probably easier to apply without introducing additional heat sources, etc.
Like 6 months ago, we had a similar change to TV brackets, where we recognized TV brackets had become a lot easier to manage and work with. So the labor
TV's
cost,
got a lot lighter.
Yes, the cost to install or detach and reset a TV bracket has gone down accordingly because the material itself, the bracket, has become easier to work with. The TVs are easier to work with, etc. So I like to see that those changes consistently happen as the tools and materials we use in the industry constantly evolve as well. Now, PNTS++. This is the line item previously for sealed walls and for sealing with shellac. They have updated the line item description so that it now says shellac/stain blocker. Stone, what are your thoughts on this change?
Yep. So first and foremost, it makes it more searchable. It is common for us to look for a stain blocker when you're repairing ceilings or water damage. Second, this is following natural evolution of an industry where most of our stain blockers are chemical or formula based, not shellac derived, which is actually from insect secretions. So just a natural change, staying in line with building methodology.
The fun stuff, insect secretions. Not a phrase I thought would ever come up on a Price List Update recording, but here we are in October 2024. Yeah, that was fun. Okay. Now, you'll see a large collection of roofing line items under a section that says modify the note field. This means there was no major change to components or yields, or well, I shouldn't say components, but no major change to yields. But there is a bit of a change here that we want to highlight when it comes to roofing. Now, I'm going to bring up this I for information because on the left hand side, you're going to see September, where there was a single component for just composition shingles. And on the right side in October, you will now see two components around the shingles. One for, again, the actual material, and then a new component that has been broken out from the original component that is specific to the asphalt shingle delivery fee. So, and a lot of the clarifications around this line item come down to the specific statement in notes that needs to be reread and confirmed multiple times by anybody that's installing roofs on the regular. The price for these components is based on the material being roof stocked, as opposed to the in-store shelf price. Yep. Consideration may be needed for situations such as abnormal material delivery/pickup, delivery outside of normal range, small material quantities, etc., that result in additional costs. Now, previously, you'll note that language existed here in a meaningful way. It was always there, but there was no component in the line item for the specific delivery fee that allowed people to make adjustments to it that would show their work as being transparent, justifiable of, hey, here is the delivery fee component, and I have a situation in which that's not normal, and I'm going to be adjusting it because of blank. Well, before I jump into more details, what are your thoughts here on these changes to breaking out the delivery fee, roof stock delivery fee, as a component inside of these roofing line items?
What you have to understand about these RFG line items is the pricing department spends a lot of their human capital querying individual roofers for what their price is per square for installing roofs. This is a unit-based pricing mechanism. That is where the majority of the data comes from. And sometimes restorers go, well, I've never been called by the pricing department. That's because they aren't that interested in finding out what restorers who are already using Xactimate and operating with the property insurance are charging for their particular activities. They're looking outside of our property insurance ecosystem to determine what the fair and reasonable price structure is. So that's where the data is coming from. And so when you call a roofer and you ask for pricing, they're going to give you a per square price that's going to include all of these things, to include roof stocking, this asphalt, right? And so you see this on Xactimate Ninjas, right? Our Facebook forum, people going back and forth around the stocking charges, because what can happen is if you're dealing with a 2 or 3 story residential property, it can be a lot of human capital to figure out how to get all those shingles up on that roof. Or you can also run into situations where you can't really get to a place where you can
landscaping or grading.
Landscaping's in the way, right? It's just obscure, and there's a lot of elevation to deal with, and that can add some additional cost. And so what you can do now, and you couldn't do previously, is you can just go right into the components and then go bump that up by, say, 20%, and include your F9 note and say, hey, the shingle delivery fee required 20% more human capital, and then here's the cost structure. So I love this change. It clarifies something that I've seen folks going back and forth about in our forums for the last decade, and it gives us an easy way as restorers or IAs to make a warranted change for unique situations.
Less friction is always better. Actionable, I don't think we'll ever remove the friction of this industry. It's naturally impossible, but less friction will always be better. So when we have the information, we have things broken out in ways that we can adjust and communicate, very helpful, very helpful. I really like that change. Let's take a look here towards the bottom, some updates to the WTR line items around removing plaster. Hey, everybody. The change that they made was to clarify that when you remove plaster via this WTR line item, that it is also considered to include the lath. It did not previously specify plaster and lath. Now they will make sure you know that it is both plaster and lath. Seems reasonable. The remove plaster and line item removes both the plaster and the lath. Makes sense. Okay. As always, Xactimate's price list is always changing, and they're adding new line items every month. Sometimes they give us a little preview of what line items might be coming the next month. Let's take a look at forward to the future.
Forward to the future.
I'll open up the little box here. We have one bullet point to read together. It is items for LED lighting for drop-in grid systems. That is on the horizon for new line items. Now, that's it. That is the changes to the Xactimate prices in October 2024. That is the 14 new line items that were added to the Xactimate prices this month. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, subscribing, supporting. If you would like live estimating guidance while you are working, literally, if you would like to have things pop up in this drawer while you're working that remind you of the things you need to be adding to your scope, like drip edge and laminated gable cornice strip and gable cornice retomb and asphalt starter and all these things, check us out at getinsights.org. We have our own profile in Xactimate with this built-in Exact Expert drawer that can provide you reminders to how to use all of these line items every month when you're writing your estimates in the Actionable profile. But in the meantime, good luck settling those claims out there.
Keep building.
Keep learning and growing, guys.